We believe nuclear power is a false solution. We believe that there are dangers and risks with artificial intelligence, and data centers are negatively impacting people's lives.
This is a social justice issue. It really is. We're talking about a history of how communities have been impacted by the nuclear technology, and the same kinds of impacts are going to happen with the use of artificial intelligence.
I'm Cathryn Chudy, and I live in both Oregon and Washington, and I'm on the board of the Oregon Conservancy Foundation. Lloyd is the executive director of that. I also am with the Sierra Club Washington chapter and a little group called Stop Nuclear Working Group, and also the Alliance for Community Engagement in the state of Washington.
I've been a long time resident of the state of Oregon, and I have been involved in the nuclear issue going back to 1972.
I was in graduate school in Ohio back in 1977, and I took a break from my doctoral program and came out to the Pacific Northwest and fell in love with Oregon and Washington, and pretty soon learned within the next couple of years that there was an operating nuclear power plant in Oregon, and that there were people that were very concerned about the safety and health risks with that. In 1979, Three Mile Island happened, and that raised my concern, and I began working with a number of different groups, including a group that passed the 1980 ballot measure law that to this day, 46 years later, protects Oregon from siting nuclear power plants in the state of Oregon.
I came to Oregon by accident in 1969. At the time, I was with my partner, Diane, and we were in the process of bringing a new child into the world. And we were spending a lot of time at the library, local library, reading books, waiting for this event to happen. And she happened to read a book entitled Perils of the Peaceful Atom by Richard Curtis and Elizabeth Hogan. And that book changed my life. I always tell this story, it's kind of humorous. I was in the middle of the book, and I suddenly was being introduced to the nuclear fuel cycle. And I said to Diane, at the end of the chapter of this book, that maybe we ought to move to Canada, because they were building the Trojan nuclear plant in Oregon at that time, and it was scheduled to operate. And she agreed that we might want to do that. And then I turned the page over to the title of the next chapter, and it was Don't Bother Running. And that changed my life. I realized after reading that chapter that there was no place to go, and that what we really needed to do was find out more about this. And I've spent the rest of my life educating myself about nuclear power and its risks. Nuclear power has been around for a while, but it's now making an attempt to resurge into our lives, and it has reached this convergence with artificial intelligence and data centers. Most people, I don't think, are aware of the broad impacts of the operation of both of these technologies.
We believe nuclear power is a false solution. We believe that there are dangers and risks with artificial intelligence, and data centers are negatively impacting people's lives.
This is a social justice issue. It really is. We're talking about a history of how communities have been impacted by the nuclear technology, and the same kinds of impacts are going to happen with the use of artificial intelligence, especially when you review the big picture, which is what, again, we're trying to do with our presentation. Really, the quest in all of this is to try and overcome the Madison Avenue public relation propaganda techniques that are being used to sell both these technologies, and the need to take an in-depth look at really how they operate and the impacts that they leave not only upon ourselves individually, but upon our environment. And so we really want to encourage people to search more and not just limit themselves to what we have to say, but really take a hard look at what's going on around you and see what you can find out more from.
I'd like to see people come away, say, recognizing, especially someone who's new to this, that, hey, look further, ask questions, find out, don't just accept. You will hear over and over again. It's kind of what's happening in our current administration. If something is said to us over and over again, it's supposed to then be true.
The need to know is the most important thing in this. And I would hope that after people see our presentation, if they have questions about this, that they will pursue more knowledge.
We're going to offer a resource guide.
It contains information on one sheet totally devoted to artificial intelligence and data centers, and on another sheet, all the information related to the problems of the nuclear fuel cycle. So it's a list of live links, and that PDF can be obtained from us by emailing us and asking us for it, and we send it out for free to anybody that would like to take a look at it and see the document.